Welcome. Today we will begin in a child's pose. So kneeling, sitting back onto or towards the heels, forehead folding down, maybe to the mat, maybe to our stacked fists. If forehead is touching the mat, go ahead and extend the arms out and go ahead and let them relax down, relaxing the upper back, relaxing the arms, shoulders. And we're just going to pause and breathe here these first few moments. Noticing how it feels to breathe. How is the body feeling with this? Is there any tension anywhere? Any discomfort? Always knowing that if we are finding pain, we should immediately modify or completely back out of a pose. Maybe just 2 more breaths here. And then as we inhale, let's go ahead and just shift the shoulders above the wrists into our modified plank. So hips are going to come beyond the knees. If your wrists need extra support, just switch to fists. Otherwise, palms down into the mat, pressing those fingers down, and tuck your tailbone under slightly. So first, we're just going to flow back and forth from this back to child's pose. So as we inhale, we're going to come forward. As we exhale, relax those hips back towards the heels or all the way to the heels. And let's just do that a few rounds, a few breaths, just creating that movement, synchronizing movement and breath. And then on your next inhale, we're going to come back forward to that modified plank, and we're going to exhale, lower all the way to the mat, if that's okay. If it is not, you're just going to come back to child's pose and remain there. As we inhale, we'll take a little back bend, so maybe just a little low cobra initially. Press into the tops of the feet, press into the palms, lift the head, chest, shoulders, keep your pelvis connected to the mat. And as you exhale, push enough into the hands, tuck that tailbone back up to our child's pose. And let's do that flow maybe about 3 times. So inhale forward, modified plank. Exhale, lower all the way to the mat. Inhale, maybe a little taller cobra on the second round. Exhale back to child's pose. And one more flow. Inhale forward. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift the chest. Compress that spine as you lift up. Exhale, engage, support the spine. Tuck the tailbone as you press all the way back to child's pose. And then pause there in child's pose. Check in with the breath. Ideally, we want breath in and out through the nose, but if you're congested, if that just does not feel comfortable, maybe you feel like you can't breathe deep enough as we flow, breathe however you need to. What's most important is that you are able to get good oxygenated breaths into the body. So on our next flow, we're going to come forward to either that full or modified plank. So modified, just as you were with knees down. For full, just tuck the toes, lift those knees up from the mat. This time we will see if it feels okay to come down and hover in chaturanga. If you don't quite have the arm strength, just lower the knees, go right back into that modified all the way to the mat. So as you exhale, we're going to bend at the elbows. We want elbows kind of locking in right at the start of the front of the ribs so that we're not bringing the shoulders too far flexed. And then we're going to flip into upward dog. If you have the strength, if your back feels good with it. Otherwise, lower that pelvis down to the mat into cobra. Otherwise, we're flipping the feet so that we're resting on the tops of the feet, the toenails and palms only, letting the hips kind of hang towards the mat as we press into those arms. And then we're going to come back to downward facing dog, or if you're doing modified, into child's pose. And we're going to do that flow about 3 times. So again, with your own rhythm of breath, if you need to just opt out, hang out in child's pose or downward dog. When you're ready, inhale forward, full or modified plank. Exhale to hover or in modified all the way to the mat. Inhale to find that back arch and squeeze the shoulders down the back away from the ears. Exhale back to our child's pose or downward facing dog. And then one more flow with your own rhythm of breath. Inhale forward. Exhale lower. Inhale to lift the chest. Exhale, we'll meet back in downward facing dog or child's pose. And if you're in downward dog, go ahead and just bend the knees, release back down to child's pose. And again, check in. What is the breath like? What is the heartbeat like? The body should be warmer here, maybe feeling the heartbeat a little more strongly in the chest, the neck, wherever you're feeling it. How is this feeling with the body? Do you need a little extra time to rest? Are you feeling invigorated, ready to do a little bit more? So next we're going to come back into that downward facing dog. This time we'll take a moment to pedal out the feet like I normally like to do, work out the lower legs. Work those heels a little closer to the mat perhaps, or sway that side to side a little bit. And then we'll inhale forward again to full or modified plank, this time into side plank on the right side. So if you're in full plank, just shift your weight to the right palm, stack maybe the left foot on top of the right or in forward or behind it. If you're in that modified, you're going to spin the right foot out so it's to the right side of the mat, and then straighten the left leg out so that the inner foot is pressing down into the mat. And either full or modified, we're going to extend the left arm straight up towards the sky. Gaze wherever it helps you balance, wherever it feels best. It could be up towards the sky as long as that doesn't throw off your balance and make you very wobbly. If you need to come out at any point, come back. You can always come back to child's pose or downward dog. If you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, inhale that straightened left leg up towards the sky. Just one breath. As you exhale, release the foot. We're going to rotate back to full or modified plank and then back through to downward dog or child's pose. And then if you're in child's pose, tuck the toes back up to downward facing dog. Inhale forward to that full or modified plank. Pause and exhale there. And then we're going to open it up, side plank to the right. So inhale, right arm up to the sky, rolling onto just that left palm, left edge of the foot, right foot wherever it feels best. Or modified, spin that left foot out towards the left side of the mat, a little kickstand there, right leg extending out. Maybe add that lift of that right leg for an inhale. Exhale, lower the foot, rotate back, and again, back to child's pose or downward facing dog for a breath. On the next inhale, back up to downward facing dog. Pause there a moment to exhale out the breath. As you inhale again, forward to that full or modified plank. Pause, hold strong for the exhale, shoulders squeezing down the back, tailbone tucked. On the inhale, side plank to the left once again. This time we're going to pause and hold it here for a few breaths. So again, full or modified, side plank to the left. Maybe you want to add that lift of that left leg up towards the sky. One more deep breath in. As you exhale, if the leg is lifted, release, fold it back forward. Again, back to child's pose or downward facing dog. A full breath there. If you're in child's, go ahead and bring that back up to downward facing dog. Then with your next inhale, we'll shift forward to that full or modified plank. Exhaling it out, and as you inhale again, now opening it back out to side plank to the right, right arm towards the sky. Holding it there for a few breaths if you can. Maybe raise that right straight leg up towards the sky. Pausing, breathing there. And then on the next exhale, go ahead and bring it back through. We'll meet back in that downward dog or child's pose. Couple of breaths there. And then if you're in child's pose, come back up to downward facing dog. We're going to inhale the right leg up and back, three-legged down dog. And then exhale, see if we can step it up through high lunge. And then we're just going to continue stepping the left foot forward into forward fold. We'll pause in that forward fold, see how that's feeling. Maybe move it, sway it around. Maybe you're really feeling the upper back from these planks and these side planks. On the next inhale, we'll come half high, slide those hands up the fronts of the legs, extend the crown of your head forward. As you exhale, fold it back down deeply. And then we'll inhale, sweep and reach it all the way up towards the sky. Connect the palms up above the head, palm to palm, and then slide those hands down to the center of the chest. Pausing there a moment and notice how you're feeling in this mountain pose. We can bring engagement into the arms, chest, shoulders by pressing those palms firmly into each other. Maybe flare out the elbows slightly. Press the backs of the shoulders back slightly, so lifting slightly through the chest, but at the same time, feel when we lift the chest, the rib cage lifts up and forward. Tuck that lowest rib slightly towards the top hip, top front of the hips there. Feel that immediately fires up the muscles of the core. Strong through the core, but we're still breathing deep, and we want to find belly breaths. So we've got to relax just enough through that upper belly, that upper abdomen, to let the breath really expand. And then we're going to move right into tree pose on the right side. So firmly pressing down into the right foot. Find a focal point, as a soft gaze, focusing our drishti, our focus. We're going to bend the left knee, spin the left knee so it's pointing out towards the left side of the mat. And then left foot where it feels best. So I always like to start with, it could be our kickstand. We could bring toes, pad of the foot just to the inside of the right foot, and then the left heel is pressing against the inner right ankle. Maybe it feels good, we're feeling balanced. Maybe we shift that foot up to that inner calf, inner shin, or up above those muscles, those tendons around the knee, up into the inner thigh. There is a slight bend in the right knee. We're not locking out that kneecap ever. And if you're feeling stable, foot and leg start pushing into each other. Muscle hugging the bone. Tuck the tailbone under. Again, lifting the chest, pressing into the palms just like we were in mountain, and then tucking that lowest rib slightly towards the front hip. At the same time, long through the neck, almost like a turtle poking its head out of its shell. Shoulders relaxing slightly down the back, or maybe engaging, pressing down the back and slightly towards the back of the mat. One more deep breath in. As you exhale, go ahead and release that left foot down. I always like to take a moment to kind of stretch out that right foot or ankle. And then find that focal point once again, a spot that's steady, not moving, not a blade of grass blowing in the wind. And then shifting weight to the left foot, bending the right knee, spin that knee out wide, pointing towards that right side of the mat. So big hip rotation if you can. And then left foot, where does it feel best? Is it that kickstand to the inner ankle, toes, and pad of the foot to the floor? Is it up to the inner calf, inner shin there, below the knee joint? Or high above that knee, pressing up high into that inner thigh? If you're feeling stable, challenge yourself. Foot and leg pushing into each other, but softness in the left knee, not locking it out. Tucking the tailbone. Pressing the palms into each other as you lift the chest slightly, but at the same time, firm up, tuck that lowest rib towards the top of the hip. Extending through the crown of your head and pressing the shoulders just slightly back. One more deep breath in. Exhale, release the arms, release the foot, the leg. Take a moment to stretch out that foot or ankle. We will inhale, sweep, raise the arms back up towards the sky. Exhale, folding it back forward, forward fold. Place the palms. We'll go ahead and step the right foot back through high lunge. Step that all the way back to downward facing dog. And then we will inhale once again, full or modified plank. Pause for the exhale, firming up, tucking the tailbone, shrug those shoulders down the back. Proud chest even here, so you're standing. And then inhale, left arm up into that side plank once again, side plank of choice, full or modified. Maybe this time we want to add the lift of the left leg. And if you're in the full plank, we can turn this into a fallen tree. We can bend that left knee, place that right foot down onto the calf, maybe to the inner thigh. Definitely more challenging to our balance here. If you're feeling strong, this feels easy to you, maybe really focus on pressing that inner thigh or that inner leg and foot into each other, just like when we were standing. If we have that fallen tree pose, extend the left leg back out. Deep breath as you exhale, folding back to that fuller modified plank, meeting back in downward facing dog or child's pose. And again, breathing here for a few moments. Maybe let the heart rate slow back down. Maybe take a moment to notice how deep the breath is. And then if you're ready, inhaling forward, full or modified plank. Pause for that exhale, firming everything up, everything strong, supported. Inhale, right arm back up to the sky, that side plank, full or modified. Maybe add that lift of the right leg. And then again, if you're in full plank, we'll take maybe that fallen tree. It's an option. Maybe place the right foot down to the inner calf or shin or high up into that inner right thigh. Maybe find a drishti, a focal point. Breathing here. Again, if you're feeling less of a challenge from this, focus on pressing the inner thigh. We don't want to just push the foot into the thigh. We want the thigh or the calf to push back. Otherwise, that knee, that hip is compromised. Muscle hugging the bone. Maybe one more deep breath in. And then go ahead and straighten the right leg back out. See if you can pause there for an inhale. The foot can always come back to the mat. As you exhale back into that fuller modified plank, meeting back in downward facing dog or child's pose. A few breaths there once again. And then next we will inhale forward, one more full or modified plank. Exhale, if you're in full, release the knees. Go ahead and release all the way back to child's pose. Pausing and breathing there for a few moments, a few breaths. And then we're going to inhale, come up to tabletop to all fours. Shift or slide those hands underneath the shoulders with knees stacked above the hips now. And let's just take a few cat and cow flows. Work out any tension from that upper back that maybe we're feeling from all that planking, side planking. Breaths, letting the torso sink towards the mat. Exhales, rounding through the back, pressing that spine towards the sky. Maybe doing that flow one more time. And then we're going to come back to tabletop. We're going to move into thread the needle on the right side. So if it does not feel comfortable, come out. I will offer a modification. But if it sounds like a good option, you think it's going to feel good, let's inhale first, right hand as high up towards the sky as we can possibly go. Open twist. And then closing the twist towards the mat. We're going to release the right shoulder, the edge of the right shoulder, right side of head down to the center of the mat. And that right arm is just extending out alongside maybe that left knee, that left leg. Okay, so staying there if that's feeling good. If that is not feeling good, you feel discomfort, pain on your neck, your shoulder, you're going to instead come up to seated in any way that's comfortable, and we're just going to bring the right arm across the chest, reaching down across, and then just kind of twisting slightly towards the left side. So stretching through that upper right side of the back, just like everyone else, and thread the needle. If you're in that thread the needle on the floor, then it might feel good to keep both knees connected to the mat, or it might feel good to extend the left leg back, lift that left knee, and then tap or press down into those left toes down into the mat. And there it might feel good to roll slightly more to the back of that right shoulder and slightly more to the back of your head, bringing chin a little bit more towards the sky. only if that feels good to you. A few deep breaths there. So trying to stretch out those muscles that work so hard in that side plank. Right along the right side of the spine there, through the upper trapezius, around the shoulder blade. Shoulders themselves, especially with the few chaturangas we did. Maybe one more full breath there. And then as you inhale, take your time to unwind, eventually coming back to tabletop. And feel free to wiggle, stretch the spine anyway, maybe a few cat-cow flows. Once that feels complete, we'll come back to that tabletop, meeting there. And then if it feels good, inhale, left arm out and try to reach that all the way up towards the sky, open twist. And then exhale, reaching down across the body, closing off that twist, left shoulder, left side of head to the mat. Again, know that modification at knees, reaching the arm across the chest instead. And then we can stay as we are if that feels best, or maybe we lift the right knee up, extend those toes back. Maybe roll a little more towards the back of that left shoulder, a little bit more towards the back of the head, bringing chin towards the sky. And a few deep breaths there again, breathing into opening up, releasing tension across the upper left side of the back along the spine, all the way out into the shoulder. Maybe one more full breath as you are. And then with an inhale, we'll unwind those steps, eventually making our way back to tabletop. And again, pause there. Maybe stretch out the spine in whatever way feels good. Maybe about 2 flows or whatever that may be. And once that feels complete, we're just going to release down to child's pose one last time. Pausing to rest and breathe there. And then as you inhale, we're going to come up to seated. Go ahead and come down to seated all the way onto the mat. Legs extended all the way out. We're going to bring the inner heels and the big toes into touch. So with those legs extended, we're going to see if incline plank feels like a good option. If your wrists are particularly bothering you, you're definitely going to take those fists for wrists. Otherwise, we're going to bring palms down to the mat, kicking back slightly, inclining back. Hands right underneath those shoulders, fingers in line with the toes, so towards all the way down the length of the mat. Or if that's too much of a stretch in the shoulders, we can always rotate fingers to the outer edge of the mat, or they can rotate all the way back if that feels best. And then with an inhale, we're going to push into those palms, push into those heels, lift the entire body up from the mat. Just bring the head right back in line with the spine. So straight line from heels through the top of your head. And then if your feet feel okay with it, we're also going to stretch and try to reach the toes all the way down to the mat, keeping legs straight, hips lifted. If that feels like it's going to cause a foot cramp, relax those feet, just push into the heels. Knowing, as always, you can come out early if that feels best. Otherwise, we're going to pause and breathe there. Chest lifting, maybe even tuck that lower rib towards the top of the hip slightly. Tailbone tucking long. One more deep breath in. Maybe lift hips, pelvis just a little bit higher. Exhale, release that all the way back down to seated, preparing ourselves for staff pose. So legs are already extended out. Take a moment, shake out the wrists or rotate those hands around. And then we'll inhale, sweep the arms as high up as they'll possibly go, reaching for the sky as we exhale, starting to fold forward. Take that forward fold of your choice. If it's flowing in and out slightly with the breath, if it's just letting gravity do the work, kind of just slumping the torso over the legs, that's still a good stretch. Or maybe you want to take hold, engage, and kind of squeeze down towards the legs. Maybe one more deep breath here. As we inhale, I want you to straighten it back up. And then as you exhale, we're going to release all the way down to our backs. Take your time to come down. Hug the knees in. Maybe rock that side to side a little bit. Letting go of any tension there. And then we're just going to come into supine butterfly pose from there. So we'll let the soles of the feet come down to the mat. Let the knees open wide, soles of feet turn into touch. And then hands, arms, as always, rest wherever they feel most comfortable. On the hips, pelvis, maybe alongside the body, or maybe even relaxing above your head. And then relaxing and breathing here. Just like when the heart was working strong, seeing if you can notice your heart beating at this time. Can you feel it anywhere in the body? Feel it slowing down, beginning to relax. If you don't feel it, that is okay. It's definitely happening. Can you feel your breathing through your torso? Deep breaths that maybe expand through your belly and then rise up into your ribs, into your chest. As you exhale, they just relax back and down towards your spine. Each breath getting a little more effortless than the last. Maybe one more deep breath here. And then with your next inhale, we'll bring the knees back in close. Feel free to hug those in one last time, rock it around, whatever feels good. And then when you're ready, we'll go ahead and come down for final relaxation. So as always, there's the option of placing something behind those knees if the back needs support, or keeping knees very bent, feet wide, knees against one another, collapsing to the inside of the mat. And then otherwise, if your back feels great, extend those legs all the way out, heels to the corners, let the feet relax open wide, and hands, arms out alongside the body somewhere. If you're using an eye pillow, go ahead and place that over your eyes at this time. And I will do our usual walk through of our body. I relax my feet and ankles. My feet and ankles are completely relaxed. I relax my shins, calves, and knees. My shins, calves, and knees are completely relaxed. I relax my thighs and hamstrings. My thighs and hamstrings are completely relaxed. I relax my hips and pelvis. My hips and pelvis are completely relaxed. I relax my hands and wrists. My hands and wrists are completely relaxed. I relax my forearms, elbows, and upper arms. My forearms, elbows, and upper arms are completely relaxed. I relax my upper back, middle back, and lower back. My upper, middle, and lower back are completely relaxed. I relax through my abdomen and ribs. My abdomen and ribs are completely relaxed. I relax through my chest and shoulders. My chest and shoulders are completely relaxed. I relax my neck, face, and jaw. My neck, face, and jaw are completely relaxed. I allow my entire body to fully relax. My entire body is fully and completely relaxed. Slowly start to bring your awareness back in, starting with the sensation of your breath. So it travels in and releases back out. And then shift awareness to the center of your palms, noticing any sensations or vibrations happening there. And then bring in little subtle movements that maybe start with a wiggle or a stretch. And let those movements just gently grow outward. That may become a full body stretch. Or it may be that your back would love for you to hug your knees into your chest one more time. Take your time, no rush. But eventually when that feels complete, you can rock yourself over to your right side, pausing and resting there for a few moments, a few breaths. Take as long as you need on your side. Just eventually, when that feels complete, start to press yourself back up to whatever seated position feels most comfortable at this moment. Once you find that position, let your hands, your arms find a place to settle and rest. Checking in to see how you're feeling at this moment. And then we'll connect the palms at the center of the chest. Thank you so much for joining me. It is my honor to teach you. Namaste.